assassins you choose to kill. Consider my brother be an Aztec boy. You go to any extreme and hold no bearers.
Chicano, and I'm brown and proud. What's up, gente? Saludos. How you guys doing, man? My utmost respects to everybody, man. Thank you for watching my videos, homie. Otro más, one more about the BBs, homie. Hey, somebody asked me to make a reaction video about Homeboy's John Diesel video, right? About the Border Brothers, man. Before I continue, hit the like button, subscribe, man. Subscribe, and I'm trying to make 20,000 subscribers, right? At the end of this month, 25,000 subscribers. It's gonna happen, man. We're gonna make it. Come on, gente. Apoya, support, man. And like I said, man, somebody asked me, hey, what do you think about Homeboy? What he's saying about the Paisas? Were they the big homies, or to the Border Brothers were big homies to the Paisas? Before I continue, let me clarify something, homie. I'm not glamorizing violence. I'm not trying to go against what he said or trying to discredit what he said. Every man has a different opinion. Every man has a different experience in prison. Like what's his name, Dubs. I made a video, right, where I said that nuestra raza were always outnumbered, and they got down. He said they after I made a video, he made another video. He said not always. Like I say, he was at a different prisons. I know from my own experience that I was in High Desert, I was in Susanville, I was in Folsom, I was in Pelican Bay, and I know what I saw, I know what I lived through. And if you were not, like, let's say, if I heard something about, let's say, I never been to Calipatria, how would I know if I never been to Calipatria? I only speak from places that I was in, not that somebody told me. And like I say, we might be at the same prison, right? Even in the same building, but we might not have the same experiences. Well, this man went through, I didn't go through, homes. But this older man went through, I didn't go through. And what I went through, they didn't go through, homie. Just different. Like my video with the priest. Somebody might say, "Hey, it's bullshit." Well, that's what I went through, though, and it's the truth. We were using a priest to do fucking, to take contraband to the back, for this paisano. And what he went through, like I said, what Diesel went through, I didn't go through what I went through. He didn't go through, But from my own experience, I can say, I respect his opinion. I respect his opinion, and but that's not what I went through, though. Why? Because when I got busted, I was a little kid, bro, and I didn't have the same experiences that this bato had with the BBs. From what he says, though, and I don't remember me reporting to the BBs, because when I got to the Bay, as a matter of fact, one of them went to my door and he said, "Hey, your paisano Pedro from Jalisco is here." And there was another paisa, and Rana from Jalisco, and he was the one that took over the yard. And there was BBs on the yard, and this bato was not a BB, Rana. So anywho, I just want to clarify that, and I do remember, there's a difference between being Border Brother from Oakland, and there's a difference between a Border Brother from prison. Somebody says, "Hey, that I didn't know, you don't know, you don't know what you're talking about," because the Border Brothers, that's what the CEOs used to call us. But me personally, I never consider myself a Border Brother. I consider myself a Paisa Mexican national, and I didn't I didn't follow orders of these battles. If anything, I was against these battles because, like I said, I had the experience that I have. These battles were mostly snake in the paisas. Matter of fact, when I was in the high desert, I already said that when I was in high desert, they were snake in the paisas. There was this old timer border brother that he used to make store list and give it to the paisas for $20. I mean, which is that's a lot of money. Every paisa that he went to the store, he would, hey, you going to the store? Yeah, you made him a list. They give me. He didn't even ask, Holmes. He was demanding that shit till we found out and said we said fuck no, Holmes. And there was some other chicalis, and they were building fort. Chicalis antiguas. And when something was gonna go down, we didn't ask these vatos. We didn't go and ask them. Matter of fact, when I already said when we one time there was this paisano, right? He was playing two parts. I mean, he was going back and forth like a comadre. And I already say his name, Paco from Guerrero, right? And this vato, you know, everybody, you know, from what I heard, this vato had huevos, right? And when we removed this vato, the vatos from the frontera, you know, from the border brothers, they were in shock to see that shit, dog. They were like, damn, this motherfucker is serious. We removed this vato because he was snaking the paisas. And as far as them vatos being, let me say something, clarify something. Why were these vatos in the early, when I got busted in the early 90s, right? They were making noise. But like I said, early mid 90s and late 90s, they were getting removed. They were getting they were disbanding these battles. 2000s, they didn't even exist. So to me personally, they were not the big, you know. I'm not gonna go and say that this battle is wrong or that he's lying. Maybe he went to a different level, a prison. Maybe he went to a prison where there was a bunch of BBs, but where I was in Folsom High Desert, in Pelican Bay, in Tehachapi Shoe, I never seen a BB in the shoe. So if they were not in the shoe, how could they be calling the shots for the paisas? And they were not on the main line either. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because like I said, they started disbanding these battles and they were no longer claiming BBs. It was just Mexican national. And we as paisas, we are more democratic. Meaning when something is gonna go down, we have like a mesa system. We had the mesa system before the Sureños had the mesa system. Only that these battles, I'm not gonna say we were more organized than the Sureños. They are more organized, you know. But we had this kind of like a mesa system where, you know, when something was gonna go down, we get together, you know, the lifers, and then I don't ever remember calling a BB and say, hey, what was good? It was mostly the lifers, and not any lifer, a lifer that had fucking huevos. And I'm gonna tell you something else. Like I already said about Paco, right? About this vato Paco from Guerrero, right? We removed this vato and they were shocked because this vato, you know, they say he had huevos, right? But when we removed him, he, you know, it was a whole different story. You know? He didn't get his fucking. Everybody thought he was gonna run into the building, grab his shit, and come out and handle his business. I was waiting for that vato to come out. I went and got another one, and I was waiting. And he wasn't the only one. We removed another one, right? And we didn't ask these vatos permission. That's why they were in shock. Because like, damn, these vatos are snaking the paisans, right? And we doing the same thing. They're coming for us. That's when they start snaking. That's when they start sending a kai to somebody else that, you know, really had juice. Hey, this vato is doing too much. Ooh. I wasn't doing too much. I was just cleaning the yard from these motherfuckers that were snaking the paisas. And I already said it, homie. And I'm gonna say it again. These vatos, I was asking for paperwork, and this vato's been in a border, bro. He's been in the building for 8 years, right? I'm gonna say his name because he was a piece of fucking shit, dog. Rafa from Chicali. Last name is Guzman. Piece of fucking shit. Matter of fact, somebody said that he's got an R. No, he's got a fucking R on his jacket. And this vato's been in the building for like 6-7 years, and I'm asking. As soon as I get to fucking high desert, I take the keys, and I was asking for paperwork, right? He says, "Oh, what? You know, this Paisa is a fucking youngster. Well, he don't know what the fuck he's doing. Why is he asking for paperwork when I've been over here in the building for 6-7 years?" Exactly. What are you doing in the building for so many years? Well, I already explained this, and I'm not trying to say, you know, this vato is wrong. He might be, you know, he might have different experiences with the BBs, and those are my experience that I had. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. Why? From the mid '90s to the late '90s, early 2000s, and from then on, there was no BBs. Because these vatos, they made a little crew, right, back in probably the 80s, 70s, 80s, and we did not agree with what they were doing with the Paisas, right? We disbanded these vatos. There was none of them in the shoe. I didn't see none of them in the shoe. I was in the shoe several times. I didn't see none of them. And the holes in the shoes, I didn't see none of them. Now, they're not on the books, meaning they're not considered one of the fours, the big fours in prison. If they were in the books, there'll be 5. There's only 4, right? There's only big fours on the mainland. And there's only 3 or 1. Well, it is 4, but how come they didn't? I didn't see none of them in the shoe locked up. Because it was just a name that these vatos, like homeboys say, that's what the CEOs used to call us, BBs. So these vatos, they probably liked their name. They started getting fucking tatted down, and you know they made a little crew, but they were not the. To me personally, I don't consider them the big homies to the Paisas. It was us, the Paisas, the Paisanos, the Paisitas, Mexican nationals, running our show, homie. They're not part, like I said, they're not part of the big 4. If they were considered that, you know, like I said, they would be locked up in the shoe, right? There was none of them in the shoe, as far as, you know, calling the shots from the shoe. But I don't know. That was just my experience that I had. You know, I'm being honest. Maybe he goes to prison and he reports to the BBs. But I didn't see none of them from late 90s to the early 2000s that were disbanded. They didn't exist no more. Somebody says on the comments, BB for life. It's not even, like I said, homeboy say that the CEOs are the ones that started calling the Paisas BBs, right? If they call me a wetback, am I gonna make a fucking a gang called wetbacks just because the freaking CEOs are calling me a wetback? The BB, the Border Brothers. To me, it was just a name that they picked because they were embarrassed or, you know, ashamed to be called Paisas, Paisanos, because they didn't want to be in between they were like in between the Paisas and the homies. You know, we're not Paisas, but we're not homies, but we're not Paisas. But I do know there is a barrio in Oakland. And my respects to everybody, man. If that's what you play, that's what, you know, maybe that's what he's talking about, man. These homies that he went to prison with, and he saw them over there in prison. I don't know, but that's my experience. You know, that's my experience that I had with these BBs from prison. Because these bottles were not, you know, calling their shots. And the Paisas are more, like I said, they're more democratic. Where something's gonna go down, we get together. Like I said, I did it a few times without asking. We just went and I just picked up a couple Paisas that knew they were solid and the ones that were gonna do it, and we didn't let nobody else know because there was some bullshit going on, and these bottles were abusing the Paisas. But that's my experience that I have with these bottles. That's what I can speak of. My only experience. I don't know about he might have went to different places where I didn't consider them my superiors. That's my experience, though. But like I said, I'm not trying to discredit what he says. My saludo, shout outs to homeboy Diesel. You got a good channel, man. Keep it up. The sun rises for everybody, man. I'm not hating on you, and I don't hate on nobody, man. I'm just, the only reason that I was, doing this for the Paisas, it was because they were getting abused, and that's that was my reason for playing politics. I didn't want to play politics. I wanted to get out, but sometimes it's necessary, homie. Sometimes I did like it though, when I was getting loaded, when I was, doing stupid shit, I was getting money. But I didn't want to make that a career, but like I said, there's no border bros locked up for life. They didn't sacrifice themselves to that level where some other gente, like, hey, this is my life, and they went and got out, homie. They say fuck this, and they're not calling the shots from the street. And the ones that are in prison, that's it. They disbanded these battles. So it's not like they some other cars that they let's say the Woods, they got their big homies that they did the ultimate sacrifice. What they doing life without in the shoe. A lot of them. It's not the case with the Paisas, with the BBs. It's not the case. I mean, I didn't see him. I didn't see him in the shoe. But that's my experience. I was in the shoe. The Hachipi shoe. I went to the Hachipi shoe twice. I was in the Bay and I was in Susanville. I did a little shoe. Not little. I mean, 14 months. I was in High Desert. I went to the hall in CMC when I picked up my life, and I didn't see him. I didn't see them running the Paisas like they say. Well, but that's my experience. I don't try to describe what this man says. And saludos, homie. With that, I'm out. Thank you for watching my videos. I'm out. Thank you. Saludos.